The cold beneath the Blackwood Mountains didn't merely chill the flesh, it operated like a parasitic worm, burrowing past muscle and bone to nest in the marrow. I sat cross-legged in the pitch-black dampness of the cave, my skeletal fingers resting on my bare, shivering knees. Water dripped somewhere in the suffocating dark, a rhythmic, hollow sound that had been my only companion for the last 3 years. I was 18 years old, and my body was quietly eating itself. I drew in a long, ragged breath, desperately filtering the stagnant air for the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. For a fraction of a second, I felt a wisp of it. It was gritty, stale, and agonizingly thin. I clamped my mind down on that wisp, trying to drag it into my dry meridians to initiate a cycle of dust sifting. Before the chi could even reach my chest, it simply ceased to exist. It didn't dissipate into the surrounding air. It just vanished into nothingness. I was born with a body that demanded spiritual energy to function, yet trying to hold on to chi was like trying to carry water in a shattered clay pot. It all just bled out. I opened my crusty eyes, staring into the absolute dark. My chest heaved with quiet, suppressed panic. Now, I felt like a saltwater fish tossed onto a sun-baked rock. My internal instincts screamed for the heavy, crushing pressure of a spiritual ocean to balance my own existence. If I couldn't sift the meager dust of this dying world soon, I would suffocate from the inside out. A violent, gnawing cramp tore through my stomach. I doubled over, coughing up a spatter of acidic bile that burned the back of my throat. I was at my absolute breaking point. Ding. The sound didn't echo in the cave. It rang directly inside the center of my skull, sharp, metallic, and perfectly clear. I froze. A pale blue light flickered in the absolute dark. It ignored the physical gloom of the cave, assembling into sharp, geometric text that hovered relentlessly before my eyes. Law of revision initializing, scanning host entity, anomaly detected, absolute zero spirituality. Internal salinity, 0%. Rejection rate, 0%. Host matches criteria of the void mirror. System fully bound. I didn't move. I analyzed it with the grim caution of a cornered rat. Zero spirituality? I knew my talent was abysmal, a hollow pit that couldn't hold chi. More text cascaded downward, the blue light casting long, gaunt shadows across the cave walls. You are currently near death from severe malnutrition and physical degradation. Would you like to commence an immersive simulation? Warning: the hard limit. In the simulation, you physically and spiritually live the timeline. If you die in the simulation, your soul is severed. You will permanently die in reality. I focused a single, needle-thin sliver of my mental intent on the word, yes. Instantly, the damp smell of the cave vanished. For 6 days, I lived a nightmare of pure, gritty survival. On the 5th day, beneath the rotting roots of a dead ironwood tree, I found it. A blood thread stalk. Actual, tangible chi. I dug it up with my bare, bleeding hands, weeping quietly at the faint, warm pulse of energy. Then, the wind shifted. The stench hit me first, rotting meat and sulfur. I spun around just in time to see the famine beast lunging from the gray brush. Its eyes were completely white, bulging with the mindless insanity of an apex predator starving to death. I raised my rusted dagger, but I was vastly outmatched. Its sheer mass slammed into my chest, shattering my sternum with a sickening crunch. Before I could even raise my arms, the beast's rotting jaws clamped down on my throat. The pain was absolute. It was a visceral, white-hot agony. I felt its jagged teeth severing my neck muscles. Hot, thick blood geysered into my mouth, choking me. My vision darkened. Reset. I shrieked in my mind. Reset. Darkness. I violently jerked forward, a suppressed, gurgling gasp tearing from my lips. My hands flew to my throat, digging frantically into my own flesh. Nothing. No blood. My windpipe was perfectly intact. I collapsed sideways onto the cold, damp stone of my lightless cave, gasping for air, my whole body trembling uncontrollably. But the pain, gods, the pain. It was still echoing in my nerve endings. My throat throbbed with a phantom agony so intense it made my vision swim. The hard limit wasn't a metaphor. Had my thought been a fraction of a second slower, my mind would have shattered. I would have died in this cave, a perfectly intact corpse with a severed soul. Slowly, the pale blue light returned. Immersive loop terminated via manual reset. Time elapsed in loop, 5 days, 14 hours. Notice, mental fatigue increased to 42% due to traumatic termination. I stared at the glowing text, wiping cold sweat from my brow. Please select your reward from the simulation. Option 1, the exact cultivation base, chi, accumulated during the loop. Option 2, the combat experience and physical muscle memory from the loop. My eyes locked onto option 1. In those 6 days, I hadn't managed to consume the blood thread stock. But merely holding it had allowed a microscopic trace of its chi to enter my pores. This system, it operated on different laws. It would inject the mathematical absolute of what I had touched directly into my foundation. It wouldn't leak. For the first time in my miserable life, I was looking at a source of untainted sustenance. I understood survival. Option 1, I whispered into the dark. Simulation logs, points earned, 0, void resonance, active. Stasis shards collected, 0, status tracker, current realm, uninitiated. Mental fatigue, 42%. Current anchor point, Chapter 1/Year 422 of the Ashen Era.